Hi, my name is Peter Knegt, and I'm here at the Queen Elizabeth Theatre in Toronto with the Prince of Christmas, Matt Rogers. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for using my title. I mean, I am newly crowned.
For those that don't know, maybe talk a little bit about the origin story of this special.
So it's Christmas. Tonight is the night we celebrate his son.
I want to be synonymous with the color red. Festivity scenes, snow, huge.
Who thinks they know the story of Santa Claus? Think again.
Basically, I was a comic in New York City, just really looking for a new show to put up. I was kind of, involved in the Upright Citizens Brigade, like the improv and sketch community in New York. And then I started the podcast Las Culturistas with Bowen Yang, and I sort of discovered my own comedic voice. And so I was looking for something that combined all my interests. Like, I have a love of musical comedy and musical theater. I have a sketch background, and I was starting to find my voice as a podcast host. So I wanted to make a one-man show that sort of combined all of that stuff.
I do know the true meaning of Christmas.
Well, what is it?
Have you heard of Christmas?
And so my boyfriend at the time, his name is Henry Kapersky. He's a brilliant musical director. He's an amazing musician. And we started just writing a Christmas show. And we have since broken up, but he is still my musical director. He's sitting over there in the wings. We're ready to perform tonight. And we've been doing this show together ever since. And so I think of it as half mine and half his. He's like the music to my lyrics. And, the show started at the Duplex in New York City, and now here it is on Crave in Canada and Showtime in the States. And I'm doing it at the Queen Elizabeth Theatre, and it's a fully realized original pop Christmas album, like any of the girls are doing.
And I think you're being a little humble, because beyond the special, Fire Island, I love that for you, which I love that show so much.
Thanks.
On Showtime. Also, the Las Culturistas, sort of, 7 years it's been now?
Yeah, I guess we got to start saying 7 soon. It's been like 6.5 now, which is so weird.
And you had your big awards
the Cultural Awards.
The Cultural Awards, which I'm so sad that I couldn't have seen.
Listen, we're actually looking for ways to blow that up too.
Okay.
So that's just the really cool thing, is that all these little things I started that I thought were special, maybe, ended up actually being something people enjoyed. All those things you mentioned, like Fire Island was such a moment. A moment for Joel, a moment for Bowen, a moment for the cast, but also a moment for queer people to really see themselves in a movie like that. And I mean a movie like that, and I think a lot of people would talk about how it was a queer romantic comedy, but really, I think that's a movie about friendship. I think that's a comedy that really authentically shows a group of friends on screen, not only just because we all are really friends, but we had an amazing director, Andrew Ahn, who just set the tone for all of us just loving each other. And you really see a group of friends, a group of queer friends who really are a family in motion in this place that's like such a heightened life moment, which is Fire Island. And, by extension, just the experience of being in a haven for queer people where you really don't have to answer to anything but the pressures and joys of being with each other. So that was such a special thing to be a part of, and I love that for you. It was such a fun show. If it's not Vanessa Bayer one day, it's Molly Shannon the next, or it's Jennifer Lewis. It's just the coolest. And I get to subvert a type of role that is so stereotypical, like the gay assistant.
Yeah.
But they give me so much fun stuff to do.
Yeah.
So that's really special. And then the podcast is just, that's the best person in the world, Bowen Yang, and me getting to have fun every week. It's like a 90-minute play date every week, which is how it started. And that's what it still is. And the fact that, I'm even able to do this and have people come to this show tonight is as a result of people loving that podcast. And I think hopefully feeling our friendship through their AirPods or however they are listening in their cars or whatever. So that's very special. And I'm very lucky.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Las Culturistas. I've been listening to it since the beginning.
Thanks, Peter.
I think it helped a lot of queer people get through the pandemic, I have to say, just because it was really nice, intimate conversations, and there's something very hopeful about your conversations. But I also am so grateful that it introduced me, as someone who doesn't live in LA or Toronto, to Joel Kim Booster and Patty Harrison and Julio Torres, who I maybe wouldn't have known about if it wasn't for the podcast.
Totally.
And what I think so beautiful is this cohort, I guess you could call it, of all of you, we're just all kind of getting your flowers. You're really all excelling. And I think there's a lot of queer people who are just really just proud of all of you, because we've got to know you a little bit more than we would have normally, because we listen to your conversations.
Well, thank you for saying that. And I think it does go back to what I was saying about like, having a feeling that things you're involved in are special, and then, actualizing that and realizing that is so surreal, because all those people that you mentioned, the first time that I ever met them, saw them perform, experienced what they do, I was like, there's something going on there, like there's no way to forget Julio Torres once you see him do his thing. Patty Harrison is such a singular voice. Joel Kim is, not only an amazing stand-up, but such a thoughtful writer and sensitive actor. And so I guess like for me, what's great about all of that is not only having people recognize them at all, because there was a time where in comedy, like there just wasn't room or space for all those queer voices just because it was such a boys club. And I do remember entering into comedy at that time, but it's also about people recognizing the breadth of their talent. It's one thing to listen to someone on a podcast and be like, oh, I think that's someone that's funny on a podcast. I enjoy the rapport. But then you dig a little deeper and you see they're a talented songwriter, singer, actor, director. You know what I mean? There's so much going on because these queer people that you mentioned have actually had to be so many things. Yeah. Because we have to be extra ready. I mean, anyone from a minority group will tell you, once like the boys club or the majority gives you a look over their shoulder at you, you have to be ready. And all those people were ready and are ready for the things that come their way. And so I'm super proud to be a part of that cohort, I guess you called it. And I'm working with one of them right now. I mean, Henry Kapersky was with us all throughout those developing days. And I've seen him flourish into such a brilliant artist. And I'm just so lucky that he spends his Decembers with me, because it's just, he could do anything else. And that's the thing. It's like all those people that you mentioned also opt to spend time together and keep their projects going with each other, because we really love each other and we understand that we're all strengthened by that support and that camaraderie and that just joy of being together. And also we think that each other are funny.
I mean, it's amazing.
It's actually really that simple, to be honest.
That's great and really inspiring. You were speaking of Julio, who I think on a recent episode of Las Culturistas, you discussed the 3 stages of pop stardom being circus, surveillance, Christmas. Yeah. So you're ascending to pop star right now, like as we speak, but you're starting on Christmas. So what are your next stages?
Listen, I actually, like not for nothing, but I do have a sequel for the show in mind. And I don't want to say too much about it yet, but suffice it to say that it's a musical landscape that my character is going to explore that he doesn't belong in on face value. Very similar to all this.
Now that you've become a Christmas icon, surely they're going to come knocking, asking you to be in a Christmas rom-com. What would that rom-com entail if you could choose anything?
If I could do a Christmas rom-com. Okay, here's my pitch. Mrs. Claus wants a divorce and she needs a lawyer. So I go up there to the North Pole to represent her, and I fall in love with Santa's lawyer. And honestly, this is really good. Yeah. And so it's 2 gay lawyers. So it's like, wait, this actually is really good. Mrs. Claus is had it, and she's gonna divorce Santa. And I play her gay lawyer, and Santa has a gay lawyer. And in the deliberations, we realize we're falling in love. And we have a North Pole adventure. And also by the end of the movie, Mrs. Claus and Santa, I would think, get back together too, right? And they're supporting characters as the elves, everyone makes an appearance. I think there could be a funny running joke where we're like, no, there's no Rudolph. There never was. That's so stupid.
I mean, it's brilliant.
Honestly, it's good.
Yeah.
This Christmas thing is working out for me.
I mean, you knew what you were doing.
Fertile terrain for me.
Thanks so much for being here with us.
Thanks,
and also,
Peter.
again, congratulations on this incredible year. It must be fun just sort of riding out the last month of the year doing this.
It's been a wild year. I decided I'm going to get a 22 tattooed on my wrist. I've never had any tattoos, but this has been such an amazing year that I want to remember it. And so I think I might get inked.
Okay.
I might get inked. Or maybe a little Christmas tree somewhere. But then it's a Christmas tree tattoo.
22's better.
22's better. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Thanks so much. And please, if you haven't watched Matt Rogers' special, Have You Heard of Christmas? It is streaming on Crave right now in Canada and on Showtime if you happen to be watching this in America. Thanks again.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Better that I smile anyway.